Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for Nerds by Nerds. Hang on.
Ted.
And today we're going to teach you how to properly railroad your players.
Hey guys, jump down to the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy, the newsletter. It's a great way to get gaming tips as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy.
And remember, you can always send your viewer suggestions and GM91s to nerdarchy at gmail.com, as Matt did. Essentially, he wants to know how to properly railroad his players into adventures. So,
Properly railroading has to do with the phrase "the illusion of choice."
yeah, well, he actually asked, how do I properly give the illusion of choice? How do I make them feel like this is a sandbox adventure, at the same time getting them to go on my adventures and take my campaigns? So there's like a couple different things that's going on here. One, whether it's a sandbox, railroad, however you want to look at it, Gareth over at 7D System and DMG Info, he uses a phrase that everything's a railroad, just the tracks are really wide, which I really enjoy and can appreciate. Because here's the thing, right? Even in real life, we get railroaded all the time, right? You could be like, I don't want to pay taxes, and you could technically do that, but you're going to do things that are illegal to make it happen. So railroading, it just happens. And I know, like in D&D and gaming, we make it out to be this horrible thing. But sometimes it's effective and it just works in your game. In my game right now, one of the scenarios going on, there's the Vargarian threat, and my players are railroaded into dealing with it. Sort of, they could choose not to, but eventually the problem will come home to them. So the idea of having a good sandbox is having these scenarios that are happening and going on, and they're going to happen and go on no matter what the players do. So they can either deal with them or not. Some might call that railroading, but essentially that's life. That's how it works.
So another way of doing it that is going to really affect your table is, okay, I've got plot thread A. Well, you want players to deal with plot thread A, but they don't want to do it. Well, then they go off and do whatever. You let them know the ramifications of them not dealing with it. Now, on top of that, let's go ahead and link plot thread A into something completely affecting one of the characters or multiple characters in the party. Well, now it's not only had consequences to the area that they're in, but to something important to that character. It could have affected a family. It could have affected a friend. Everyone's got connections in this real world. Unless you're like, I'm the loner. I don't have friends. I don't like anybody.
Sole survivor.
Like unless you've got that character, there's somebody that your player or that the characters care about, and therefore something bad can happen to them. And it's not a dick move. It's not something that you're doing to get a vendetta. It has to do with, well, that's the way the cookie crumbles. In the real world, bad stuff happens all the time, and it doesn't necessarily have to happen to somebody who's not connected in any way, shape, or form. It's like, okay, well, hey, here's this thing here. This happened. Deal with it. Well, now the players have to get involved or more bad things are going to happen. And it's not railroading. It's making those characters a part of that living world. It's making them a part of that story. And as any DM wants to talk to their players and make sure that they're on board for the kind of adventure that you're running, it's just a way of getting that information, getting it rolling, and making a story that everybody's going to enjoy. I know back in the day when I was first running games, I did a little bit of the railroading. I did a little bit of all right, I make a map. Well, they go left. Well, the adventure I wrote is to the right. Well, now what do I do? Well, you just swing that stuff over to the left, and now they can do it.
That is the illusion of choice. And that's actually one of the advantages of playing a tabletop role-playing game and being a dungeon master. That shit doesn't happen in real life. But in the game, in the world you've created, you're like, oh, well, I want them to explore the ruins to the east, but they've decided to go to the mountains in the west. Well, what do you know? There's ruins up there now. So you could easily do something along those lines. And going along with your example, too, what I was thinking is say the players are presented with options in the town, right? A merchant comes up to them or a wealthy noble and goes, "Hey, there's a beast to the south. I want you guys to capture it for me. I will reward you handsomely. I will pay you each 500 gold pieces for this thing." Whatever it is, the golden snipe. And they can do the golden snipe hunt, and it's going to pay them really well. But at the same time, they hear rumors of bandits attacking from the mountain passes, and and not letting caravans through. So you could do several things. One is they can deal with the the plot you want them to do is the brigands or the bandits, but they decide they go snipe hunting. Well, they come back to town and they got all this money, but they can't buy stuff, or stuff is extraordinarily expensive now because the caravans aren't getting through. But they're like, we got a ton of money. We don't really care. We captured the golden snipe. And like some other things come up and they get offered different jobs or different quests they could go on. And they decide to still ignore the bandits. Because really, it's not that much big a deal. So what? You know what? I have to stay at a place and it costs me 2 gold instead of 1. I got so much money, I don't even know what to do with it. I wipe my butt in gold pieces. So they decide to go off and do other things, right? Well, then they come back to the town. Now the town is a burnt, ruined husk because they never dealt with the bandits. And the bandits, they just grew in so much number, they overwhelmed the town. So now they can go and seek retribution for the town. They can move. They can do whatever they want. But at the end of the day, like, things happen because they make choices. Or perhaps they are friends with other groups of adventurers, or other people that fill the adventure roles, if you don't want to use the word adventurers, and they come back from the golden snipe hunt to find out that those people went after the bandits and they haven't come back, and they're never going to come back because they're dead, and maybe they were friends with these people.
There's also the other end of that. Is, all right, the other adventurers, they go off and stop the bandits. Well, the town, sings their praises.
They're now the heroes of the town.
They're now the heroes of the town. They don't pay for a room. They don't pay for meals. And, depending upon what you're doing, they're lorded with gifts. They're, flaunted over by the men or the women, whatever they fancy. And, like, different things that you would want to reward your players with that they would actually react to, you give to these NPCs. And it's like, well, you could have done that, but you decided to go for money instead.
You could totally kind of make them the other guys and be like, the merchants and nobles come to them for jobs now when the other guys are busy and won't take the job, and they make it clear that they wanted the other guys. And they would have paid them more than they're going to offer you. Right,
because you're just the other guys.
Yeah, so there's that kind of things that go on in the campaign world, and it's not really railroading. It's just as so much as it can be, but it doesn't have to be. You can give the illusion of choice. You do through the suggestions like we just talked about, or you can just literally go, well, I planned this thing over here. You just change how that thing happens. If it was a ruins or a dungeon to be explored, you just move it to where they're going. Or if they're looking for something specific, they've got their own adventure in mind, because maybe they're looking for one of the player's grandfather's lost sword. And and he's totally ignoring all the hooks because he's doing research. Well, it turns out he lost it in that ruins you wanted them to go to, or in the dungeon you've already built up. So again, it doesn't matter if they take the fork on the left or the right. No matter which way they go, the ogre encounter is going to happen. I mean, they don't know that, and they don't need to know that.
Right. Now, if you've got a fully fleshed out map and the players are aware of it, then you can kind of enter into some gray area. But as the DM, you really have the power to do whatever you like, however you like. And it actually says so right in the DMG. So, nerds to anyone who argues with you.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's just about having fun playing the game with you and your players. So as long as that happens, it doesn't really matter. Now, yeah, I wouldn't want to play in a game where I'm constantly forced to do things that my character wouldn't want to do and I don't want to do as a player. I've played in those games before. It's not fun. And, there are some really heavy-handed ways that we've seen it executed, whether it's a geese or multiple geese spells, whether it's the DM having an NPC intercede and put an end to something that's going on. We've seen that as well.
Yeah.
Whether it's a GM that totally like basically, Galvatrons your character and totally rewrites it to what they wanted you to play to begin with. There's definitely things that are hardcore, heavy-handed, fist over the head railroading, right? But what Matt's talking about isn't so much. I think he just wants to be like, how do I make my world feel organic and the players feel like choice without me having to constantly make things up on the fly? You can have several adventure ideas and hooks out there that, they didn't take any of them and decide to do something else. Well, a lot of times you can repurpose that material into the other thing. You change the name of the dungeon, or now it's not really a dungeon, but it's a monastery. And you have to rethink. You may have to rethink some of the rooms on the fly, but you don't have to start from scratch.
Right, and it's all about having little bags of tricks that you can do. If you have a handful of encounters prepared, some inside of buildings, some outside of buildings, that you're able to just pull out and throw down from the party, yay great, it doesn't matter what direction they go. Bandits can be anywhere. Monstrous humanoids can be anywhere. You can use them, pretty much interchangeably as well. So you just kind of go for it and do your best.
There is a supplement I had picked up and I've used like once so far called Be Prepared, which has a bunch of encounters in it. There's Book of Lairs from Cobalt Press. Previous editions had tons of these kinds of supplements, and you probably find a couple of other ones in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons.
You've also got Nerdarchy.com. Every Friday has got the out of the box encounters.
Yeah, that's true as well. So there is places where you can just have these kind of resources that are kind of available to you, and you can just plop them in different places and go, oh, well, if I need to, I can just, refer to this. Maybe you have a cheat sheet, what place, what supplement, and where to find it in that supplement. Whether it's the web page from Out of the Box Encounters or the page number from Book of Lairs or Be Prepared, so that you can throw these things out there and use them to either mix up stuff that you already made that for whatever reason your players aren't biting on that hook, or just create something completely new for them. The truth of the matter is they don't really know what's going on behind the screen unless you tell them.
Yeah, if you're scrambling, but you put up a good session, they'll never know that you had to change some things or whatever have you. And as Dave says, at the end, as long as you're having fun, that's all that matters.
Also, there's nothing wrong with taking like a 15-minute break. If you need to, you can just say, look, you guys are going in a direction I wasn't expecting. I need 10 minutes to figure something out real quick. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. We've talked about it before in other games. We'd had a DM that would take a smoke break at that point to think about how he was going to change things up.
You take a smoke break, you take a drink run, or for us here in the East Coast, the Wawa run. You do what you need to do, and the players will just have to manage. And once you get your head back in the game, there you go.
Yes. So with that, what are your best tricks for keeping your players on the railroad? Let us know in the comments below while you're at it. Like, share, and subscribe.
You can patronize us in a good way over on Patreon.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.